And we're going to test Lilo Browser for Android on my Galaxy tablet. Lilo Browser is a web browser, and I don't really think it's that well known, so we'll have to see what awaits. Okay, so surprisingly it is just called Lilo after installation, as opposed to Lilo Browser prior installation. And again, I said earlier that it might not be well known, and it would be nice if it was called Lilo Web Browser or Lilo Browser. So that is number one. Now I've got my Bluetooth keyboard with me, so everything should go smoothly. Okay, so we've opened Lilo Browser, and it's actually got some pages loading. And usually you would have a tutorial. Search using Lilo. Usually you'd have a tutorial up here as opposed to all of this. And we haven't. And if we do have a tutorial, it is in a form of a website as opposed to contained within the app itself. So that is actually very unusual, and I haven't really seen that in the browser before. And another thing, you probably notice it as well, some things were actually loading as opposed to, the app loading and the tutorial, presented immediately. So that can actually be a bit suspicious. And also it's got two open tabs. Well, I haven't even set a tab to open yet, so why has it got two open tabs? But again, that is a bit of a pause for thought. Alright, so we're in the more options section now, and it's in the top right hand corner, and it's a place what I would like to call common places. Screen reader users like myself are used to finding options in common places, so the more options will be on the top right hand corner, navigation drawer on the left hand corner. And again, the fact that the more options is where it usually is a very good advantage there, and the fact that the browser has a menu is another good advantage, because it's not like the Surfy browser which we tested yesterday, and that was a bit of a disaster, and the menu was either hard to access or there wasn't much of a menu there. Alright, so the fact that this has a menu is very good. So in the menu you've got new tab, new incognito, bookmarks, recent tabs, history, downloads, share, finding page, add to home screen, desktop site, along with the settings and help and feedback. So those are your typical browser options. We're in the settings, and you got search engine Lilo. What we have been doing lately is, instead of relying on a search engine to look up articles like Piper Cherokee, we've actually been going on social media accounts and email accounts to see how the screen reader interacts with the browser when it comes to signing into your social media account or whatever account, because what I've been noticing lately is it differs depending on the browser. So it's not the same across all browsers, which I thought it was. So we're not as dependent on a search engine now, but the fact that you've got a search engine preference is very good, and also the fact that it's at the top is very good as well. Now, A little bit. He's only got Lilo as a search engine, and that is actually quite worrying. So if you're used to Bing and Yahoo, you can't get that. You have to spoon feed it a bit by typing in yahoo.co.uk, google.co.uk, because that's the search engine address for your search engines. So if you're not happy with Lilo, you either have to stick with it or do things the hard way if you are used to your format. So again, it would be nice if you had more search engines, let alone your popular ones. It looks as though that this is not a split screen view, and if I didn't say before, I'm using my Galaxy Tab A 9.7, so it fills the entire window, and again that is a fairly good advantage. However, it would be nice if you had like a split screen view so you can work in a flow order so you don't have to retrace your steps. However, it is a bit of a blessing when it comes to Chromebooks, and we have been testing browsers on Chromebooks lately, and one of the things we remark on is the split screen view. So it's good for Chromebooks, so whether the app developer can design it for Chromebooks not to have a split screen view and so on and so forth, I'm not too sure, but it would be nice if we could do such a thing, or probably have a Lilo browser for Chromebooks as well. We got accessibility. Let us have a look. Text scaling, and you've got your simplified view for web pages. And one thing, I'm not getting an audible interaction to see whether the pages are ticked or not, and that can be a little bit worrying. So you'd therefore have to listen to a lot of briefing to enable you to understand whether you've clicked it or not. And I think it only has offer to show articles in simplified view when supported. You usually have a simplified view for articles and a simplified view for tabs. And again, the fact that you've only got one option there is a bit worrying as well. And also, the accessibility options is actually quite bare compared to the Kiwi browser. The Kiwi browser actually had a ton of accessibility permissions at your disposal. And so if you want a very accessible browser, Kiwi browser is the one for you. And it had, for example, ability to adjust the text scaling of the night mode and other options, so it was very impressive. So in comparison, the Lilo browser is quite bare, and actually it would be nice if it had a night mode on it. About Lilo, and that is all we get. And I think when we returned to the browser menu, it did sort of come back to its loading thingy again. But again, you know, you've got to be a bit mindful about that. Let me just move this a bit. Alright then. So, keyboard shortcuts time now. First of all, we test the address bar shortcut, which takes you to the address bar, where you can type in your website address or your search term, and the way you can access that is Alt plus D, and surprisingly that works. To create a new tab, you press Ctrl plus T, and that works as well, which is actually very good. Now let us actually close some tabs, because we did say earlier that some had actually opened unexpectedly. And then another shortcut I would like to test is the browser menu shortcut, which enables you to get into the more options section that we saw earlier. And it works. So you can use keyboard shortcuts on this browser as well, which is very, very good. So we're going to go on Facebook now and see what the signing in option is like. So www.facebook. Oh, and I forgot to have a look at the homepage as well, didn't I? Whoops. What we'll probably do is we'll probably have a quick look at it at the end of this live stream. Now here we go, we've got our classic screen recorder and screen reader conflict problem. Now if we turn the volume up a bit.
Press search plus space to activate. Press search plus.
When I'm using the tab key, it's saying press search plus space to activate. And that happens when the screen recorder and the screen reader are working at the same time. Now both screen recorder and screen reader analyze data, and they work in excuse me, the same method, but is what they do with that analysis. So in the screen recorder case, it takes note of it, and the screen reader it speaks it aloud. And when the two are sometimes working together, they can conflict, so that is what we are seeing in this browser. However, it also lies with the browser itself. Now if you're using Chrome and you have a screen recorder, and if you are a screen reader user, it will be fine. You can use the tab key to your heart's content. So it's a little bit of everything, the screen reader and the screen recorder, but I'd say it's mainly with the browser itself. Alright, so let us get into this editing. So you saw I got in the email address section, but I had to use my screen reader commands, and that means that you have to hold down the key for quite a long time, and there is no sticky mode like the Chrome Box. The sticky mode saves you having to hold down the search key. It in effect holds down the search key for you. So again, that's more of a Google TalkBack thing, so it'd be nice if a sticky mode was included, but hey ho, it's not. So let me type in my email address now. And it's keeping up with the screen reader in fairly real time. And if I just tab out and turn the volume up a bit, you can hear. So I've typed in my password and it is hidden. And we're just going to press enter. One thing I really like about this browser is it's giving you the loading percentage as well, and which means that you have an indication how much of the page has loaded, which is a very good thing of modern browsers. It's not like the old days where the page was presented after it had totally loaded, whereas now the browsers just show you as it is loading, if that makes sense. This browser is a little bit slow loading, I'm not too sure.
84%, 87%. More stories requested, 88%. Alert, close pop-up and return. New notification from Kent Association for the Blind.
Oh, that's Kent Association for the Blind. The KAB. They're a charity that helps visually impaired people, and they loan them specialist equipment if need be, as desired by the resident or whatever. So that's what the KAB does, and it also arranges outings, and they also publish different posts in regard to visual impairment and technology. So that is what the KAB is all about. And I just had a notification from them, so I think I know I did comment on a post, so that's probably why it says the notification. Okay, so enough of that then. And you probably noticed, going back to the loading progress, that the browser took an awfully long time to load. I'm not too sure whether that's me streaming on YouTube, it's taken up the RAM, which is storage used for multitasking, or whether it's the browser itself or a combination of the both. So if you want a browser that loads like a bullet in comparison, I'll advise you go for Chrome or Kiwi browser. But we will sum that up in the conclusion. So it's got 2 notifications, and it does look as though that I am going to have to use my screen reader command to navigate around.
Kent Association for the Blind replied to your comment on their link. 1 hour button.
Reply to your comment on a link. So it reads notifications fairly well.
We've noticed an unusual login from a device or location you don't usually use.
And it's got that unusual login thingy. Actually, let's turn on the desktop view and see whether that can counteract our screen reader function.
Find in page. Selected. Add to home screen. Desktop site. 10%. Facebook. Selected tab.
Oh, come on, Skipper.
23%, 29%, 38%, 51%, 58%, 65%, 80%. Navigation assistant.
Let's tab along and see what happens, because I'm not really able to wait until this browser loads, and turning on the desktop site doesn't really counteract our problem. Let us actually have a look at the What's on Your Mind section, where you can actually
edit box. What's on your mind?
Post your status. So let us actually hear how the screen reader keeps up with things and your conclusion. Just
88%.
I don't think I'm going to bother messing around with this. Let us just draw a conclusion. In summary, the Lilo browser, I would say, can actually... the Lilo browser is, I will say, an okay browser, but it's not a browser I will recommend. That's probably for everyone, including screen reader users. First of all, when you open the browser, tabs start to open on their own, and they present tutorials, and that can really cause suspicion with Android device owners, and we have seen some news articles telling you to uninstall some Android apps, so that can really heighten your suspicions a bit. Also, the loading progress is really slow, And so if you want a browser that loads fairly quickly, I would advise you go for Kiwi Browser, because that not only loads quickly, but it's also a very accessible browser. And you can go for the Chrome as well, but I would highly recommend the Kiwi Browser because of its accessibility options. And talking about that, you haven't got a simplified view for open tabs, which is a bit of a blunder, nor have you got a night mode and a accessibility section for the night mode as well. And the search engine preferences, again, that can really be a bit of a downside because you haven't got a ton of search engine preferences there. So overall, I would suggest you go with the Kiwi browser, as that is a very accessible browser and you have got plenty at your disposal. Alright then, well I hope you have enjoyed this live stream, and please subscribe and hit the like button. I will see you soon.
Live tools. Unlabeled. Streamer's screen display. Camera. Shoulder.
Oh,
Search.
hang on a bit. Once I can cut this.
Unlabeled. Button. Unlabeled. Do recorder. Unlabeled.
Alright, let's have a go at this.
Are you sure you want to stop live streaming?
Yep.